What's going on, guys? Definitely not Tom Orange here today to talk about some reactions that I had to two specific YouTube videos from the Booktube space. You can find links to both of those videos down in the description. Now, what is basically going on in these videos is a little bit of a conversation about why so many readers and so many booktubers tend to love and talk about the same series. And I think that's such an interesting conversation. And I want to lean in to two different aspects that I found in those videos that I think are worth fleshing out more. And so I want you to hang out with me. I'm really just going to talk at you for a couple of minutes about why I think that so many people read the same books, love the same books, and why I actually think that's a good thing. All right, so this conversation in my mind kind of started with this video, followed by this video. Now, I especially want to spend some time with Michael Cronk, the Book Guy's video, and two of his main points, because as he's having this conversation with his audience about why so many people read the same books, two of the things that he brings up, I thought stuck out to me specifically as major reasons why this occurs, and really two major reasons why it's not a bad thing that so many people read the same books, and especially that so many people love the same books. And those two things are very simple. The first one is FOMO, or the fear of missing out. And the second one was loneliness. And in this video, Michael Cronk talks about why these two things can drive us to read the same books, can drive us to enjoy the same books, and he definitely takes a nuanced approach to that, and I thought it was fantastic. I think that FOMO, the fear of missing out, and the loneliness epidemic, and just the general concept of loneliness that exists within the human condition are good reasons why we should not shy away from reading the same things and enjoying the same things. So let's talk about that a little bit. So FOMO, the fear of missing out, right? This idea that culturally speaking, when we exist in different areas of life, the people around us are talking about doing something, reading something, seeing something, enjoying something, and that wells up within us a desire to go do the same thing, read the same thing, see the same thing, enjoy the same thing, because we don't want to miss out. Oftentimes, FOMO is talked about almost in a negative way. But I think when it comes to reading and enjoying entertainment especially, so not just books, but TV and music and events, I don't think that FOMO has a bad side unless your decision to do those things is detrimental, right? If you can't pay your mortgage because of FOMO, because you're spending money on things that you don't have to have, yeah, that's bad. But assuming that there's no negative consequence to your life and to your health because of FOMO, I think FOMO is actually a really good thing. I think that humans are built with a desire to enjoy things communally. And so if my friends are reading a book and that drives me to want to read it as well, and FOMO is the reason for that, if I enjoy that book, isn't that a good thing? Isn't it a good thing that my friends were enjoying something and that may have even aided me in enjoying it more? And I'll give you a really good example. I recently read Catabasis by R.F. Kuang. Now, I really enjoyed this book. It was a 5-star read for me, but I'm going to be completely honest with you. One of the reasons why I think it hit so well for me and why I enjoyed my experience with it so much was that I read it with about 5 or 6 other people in the Book Street Boys Discord, link in the description, of course. But we were reading this together. We were talking through each chapter. We were talking about our thoughts on it. We were bouncing ideas back and forth. And that experience really changed how I enjoyed this book. And that isn't always the case. I disliked Wind and Truth and read that with a lot of different people. But a lot of times I feel like that my enjoyment of something can be exacerbated or heightened because I am enjoying it with others, especially if I'm jumping onto the hype train, especially if I'm just behind the other people, excited to kind of catch up with them. Another great example of this would be Sun Eater. Do I think that the Sun Eater series is amazing? Yes. But do I think that that has been helped along by the fact that I've heard so many people talk about how good it is, tell me that I'm going to love it, and then I follow along in those footsteps? And some of you guys may be saying, well, preacher, doesn't that mean that you're not being honest about how good the book is? And here's my problem with that. At the end of the day, my job is to enjoy or not enjoy books and then talk about it. My job is to read and then yap at this camera. I am not a professional reviewer. I never have claimed to be unbiased. I've never claimed to put myself into a bubble or a vacuum when I'm reviewing and enjoying books. And if that means that I gave Katabasis a 5-star when it was really a 4, man, I'm just gonna have to live with that because I'm reading to enjoy something that I love. And oftentimes, for me especially, jumping on the hype train can help me to enjoy that experience. Is that fair? Maybe, maybe not. Is it fair to writers who I read who maybe don't currently have a hype train? Well, I would say I feel like I do a good job of being fair to those that don't currently have the hype train going. And we're going to talk later about kind of this false idea that if all of the big booktubers are reading the same books and enjoying the same books, then how are we ever going to find new stuff? How are we ever going to talk about other great works? I think that's just kind of a false dilemma. I don't think it actually exists in the booktube space at all, but that's a little bit of a different conversation for later. But I just want to really talk about how FOMO is in itself a good thing in this space. Again, assuming you are not forgetting to pay your mortgage because you bought the next special edition, assuming you're making good life choices along with reading these books. If you're the type of person who just wants to read what others are reading so that you can talk about it, so that you can enjoy what they're enjoying, so you can understand why they like what they like, so you can just be a part of their process, that is not a bad thing at all. In fact, you should lean into it. And what you're going to hear in this video multiple times is the reason that you should lean into it is very simple. We read to enjoy books. Whatever causes you to enjoy books is what you should do when you read books. You may be watching this video and going, well, actually, when I read popular books, I like them less because I like to be on the cutting edge. I like to be at the front. I like to be the first one to read something. Awesome. Go do that and enjoy the fact that that causes you to like books more. If you're the type of person who wants to be on the cutting edge of reading books no one has ever heard of, go do it. Start that channel. Start that review process. Be that guy whose goal is to bring these unknown books to people who need to read them. Be the beginning of that hype train. Make other people have FOMO for the books that you are reading. The only problem that I typically see with people who tend to that direction is that they want to experience it, but they oftentimes want to gatekeep it afterwards. So don't be that guy. But I definitely think that we need to shift the thought around this idea of the fear of missing out. The fear of missing out is not a bad thing, and in fact plays into the second aspect, which is loneliness. See, what I think is so true about the human condition, and I'll, hands on the table here, right, show you my cards. I believe that the human condition, right, is developed and created by God, and I believe that God has created us for community. And I'm not going to get super into what that means religiously, right? But I believe that humans desire community, and you don't need to be a Christian to believe that, but it's something that I would ground in my Christian beliefs. We need each other. We want community. We want friendship. We want relationship. We want connection. And so if I enjoy books more when I am connected to others, when I enjoy books more when I lack loneliness, if books can be a conduit to spelling the problem of loneliness, why would I not lean into that? And I don't know about you guys, but reading a book that no one else has ever read, reading a book that no one is talking about, doesn't seem to spell loneliness. And again, you may be the type of person who loves that, and that's fine. But I also guarantee that you're probably also not suffering from what I would call the loneliness epidemic, if that's the type of person that you are. But many of us are seeking every opportunity to get away from loneliness, and books can be such an awesome place to do that. And so if you've got to lean in to reading the same books as other people, and by reading the same books as other people, you then enjoy those books more, we should not be surprised that so many people have the same books in their top 10, that so many people enjoy the same books. Why would they not? They are reading the same books because they want to have community, and then because they are reading them in community, they may enjoy them more. And that is not a perfect science, but I do think that it has shown itself in the book community. I do think that it has shown itself at least in the communities that I have been in, and it's definitely shown itself in my personal reading experience. And so I want to finish this video by giving some practical things that you can maybe do as you consider FOMO, as you consider loneliness, as you consider this entire conversation. And so the first thing I want to do is I want to point you to some communities. Maybe you're watching this video and you're saying, man, I don't have a lot of community, maybe the comment section of a couple different YouTubers, but that's about it. I'm going to highlight a couple places that I think really have great communities. The first is obvious. It's the Book Street Boys Discord. There's so many people in there talking about books, enjoying life together, talking about more than just books, and just growing in relationship. And again, just leaning into the fact that this common interest can help us to kill loneliness, can help us to grow relationships, and in my opinion, live out our human purpose. And so check out the Book Street Boys Discord if you are not in there. I know the Tutor Ramble guys have a great community over on their Discord, which is attached to their Patreon. You should check them out. There's so many different communities that are on Discord and on Instagram and on YouTube and on Patreon. The Booktube space is very much centered around conversation and community. This is not a space that is essentially just viewing, taking in, or consuming. It kind of revolves around the idea of engagement. I mean, I'm leaving in a couple of weeks to go to a gala where a bunch of nerds are going to get together and listen to and talk about the Sun Eater saga. Like, this whole concept of reading is communal. And if you need that, if you're looking for that, there's some great places to find it. And I would start in some of those places that I mentioned. And if you're somebody in this video who has a great community that's not mentioned, please put that in the comments. Another one that I would mention is Andrew's Wizardly Reads. He's a really good Discord that seems to be pretty active, and he seems to be involved, and his people seem to really enjoy encouraging each other to read and talking about awesome books. But there's plenty. And if I missed yours, I don't mean to say you don't have a great community, but I would love for anybody in the comments to put down there where they've found community in reading. And now I want to do the opposite. If you're somebody who is tired of hearing about the same books, right? Maybe there's some creators that you need to find who are talking about different books. And so I want to give a couple examples, and I want to give a couple strategies that you can use that I've employed when I want to find something different. First off, recognize that your corner of Booktube is a very small corner of Booktube. You may think that everyone is talking about Red Rising, and everyone is talking about Dungeon Crawler Carl, and everyone is talking about Sun Eater, but there's like 100 other corners of Booktube that never talk about those books. And so it may be that you need to expand your horizons a little bit and go find someone who's necessarily in a slightly different corner of Booktube. I'll give you a really good example. If you're somebody who leans super heavy into fantasy, and you want someone who likes fantasy, who maybe knows fantasy, who reads fantasy, but it's not their number one, and they're going to give you some authors and some books that you definitely have never read. Go watch John Rommel over at Rommel Broadcasting. He's going to give you more horror than you've probably ever heard. He's going to talk a lot about science fiction that you maybe have never read. And so that's just a good example of someone who they're bringing up books that you don't hear brought up in fantasy Booktube, even though you could probably trust that they're good because they do have some common interests with you. And so my first piece of advice would be to expand your horizons on Booktube. If you feel like everyone is talking about the same 5 books, the thing you need to do is begin to find other creators who maybe can push you out of your comfort zone a little bit, who are maybe not in that exact niche that you're getting a little bit tired of, right? And go enjoy some of those creators as well. Another good example would be Samwise, firmly in the sci-fi and fantasy community. But one thing that Sam does really well is that he looks for older books and books that are kind of forgotten almost, maybe not necessarily forgotten, but kind of not talked about enough in our niche. And he promotes those books and he reads those books and he talks about those books. I can't tell you how many times I've watched one of his videos and been like, that sounds amazing, but I've never heard anyone talk about that until Sam did. And so find creators like that who are willing to or wanting to get on the front lines of finding new books. I mentioned Andrew's Wizardly Reads earlier. His channel is fantastic for finding self-published fantasy and self-published science fiction. And so I think that he's a great one to go to if you're really just hearing about the major published fantasy and sci-fi and you kind of want to dive into some stuff that's a little more niche, that's in a different area from what you're used to. Man, go check out Andrew's Wizardly Reads and listen to some of the awesome stuff that he finds that I've never heard of until I watch his video, and the next thing you know, it's something that I have loved. And again, just like in my first concept, I want you to go in the comments and I want you to tag or give us some examples of some booktubers that you feel like get out of that comfort zone, who you feel like have pushed you to read some things that maybe you didn't know about before. Because again, it's not that everyone is talking about the same books. It's that oftentimes we are just in a small community who we only hear from, and the next thing we know, we feel like everyone is talking about those books. And so it's easy to get away from that, to step outside of that. And the last thing I would say is this: if you're that person who wishes that they could find more books, utilize resources, and then start your own channel, start your own Instagram. Be that guy who's on the front lines. Be that guy who's finding the cool new stuff. Someone found Sun Eater first. Someone found Red Rising first. Someone found Dungeon Crawler Carl first. And man, if that's your passion, go be that for people. Go give them that opportunity. And if your passion is to enjoy community, and that means reading the same 20 books as everyone else, read the same 20 books as everyone else and everything in between. Figure out what makes you love books the most and then do that. Enjoy that. Be willing to be malleable, be willing to read new stuff, be willing to read stuff you've never heard of, but be willing to read whatever is going to make you happy. And that's the biggest thing that you can do when it comes to this. And so that's all I've got. I'm done preaching for the day, but hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Again, be in the comments, share some examples of some creators who are sharing different books. Share some examples of some communities that have really leaned into this idea of reading books as a communal device for killing loneliness. And make sure you like and subscribe, because that does help the channel and will help this video, and that will be awesome. And I only have one other thing to say. Read what you want, when you want.